All right, everybody, welcome into the post-game show in the Pain Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. All 5 Nuggets starters did not play in this basketball game tonight as we are live here at Ball Arena. The game just ended between the Denver Nuggets and the San Antonio Spurs. Your starting lineup tonight for the Nuggets was Zeke Naji, Hunter Tyson, DeAndre Jordan, Russell Westbrook, and Jalen Pickett is your starting 5 tonight for the Nuggets as they were without Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, and Christian Brown. They were all ruled out for this game this evening as the Nuggets fall 113-106 here at Ball Arena to end the 5-game homestand. They'll be traveling to San Francisco to play the red-hot Golden State Warriors coming up on Friday. A little bit of more bad news for you. The Houston Rockets absolutely demolished the Utah Jazz tonight, 143-105. That obviously was expected because the Jazz are terrible and the Rockets are the 2 seed currently in the Western Conference. Now, with tonight's loss, the Nuggets will fall to the 4 seed in the West. The Lakers will surpass them. The Lakers are idle tonight. The Nuggets will fall to 47-30, and the Lakers are 46-29. They also have the tiebreaker. So, look, I get and understand a lot of people's wanting this team to win as far as the standings go to keep a top 3 seed. I get that. But the coaching staff made the right decision tonight, not playing the starters. I mean, you had a double overtime game last night. Christian Brown plays 52 minutes. Nikola Jokic plays 53. This was one of those games that was just the way it panned out in the schedule and what happened here last night against the Minnesota Timberwolves. It was the right call for the Nuggets to rest these guys tonight and then really just go for it coming up on Friday and for the rest of the season, by the way. The big concern right now for the Nuggets, as far as their starting 5 being out tonight, Joker, rest, Aaron Gordon, in calf management injury, I'm sure is what it is. Obviously, Michael Porter Jr. is dealing with some family issues going on right now. It's not injury related. Christian Brown played massive minutes last night, and he's been on the injury report for the last couple of weeks with a foot injury. The biggest concern right now is obviously Jamal Murray. He wasn't able to go last night after 5 days off, wasn't able to go tonight. We'll see if he can go coming up on Friday against the Golden State Warriors. But that's the main concern for me right now as far as the starting 5 and their health goes. But we'll see what happens. And you know what? I'm going to stay consistent with what I've been talking about really post All-Star break. The goal for this team is to get into the playoffs as healthy as possible and as rested as they possibly can. Now, do I want them to get a top 3 seed? Sure. I mean, obviously I would take that over them falling to the 5 or the 6 seed. But at the end of the day, I do think this was the right decision for Michael Malone and the coaching staff to rest the starters tonight. Now, what I will say is, and I tweeted this out earlier at Dan Tanner 091, I get, like, if you went to the game tonight, if you bought a ticket to come see your favorite players play in this game, I feel awful for you. There's no other way around it. That is just not good for the fans, and I sympathize with that. Now, what I will say is I don't put the blame on the team, on the Nuggets. And this, look, the Nuggets aren't the only fan base that deals with this. A lot of the fan bases around the NBA deal with this, and it's very unfortunate. It's unfortunate to the people that only get to come to maybe 1 or 2 games a year. They bring their family to the game. and you don't get to see any of the starters play. Now, tonight's a little bit of a different situation because I can't remember the last time the Nuggets rolled out a lineup where literally everybody in their starting five was out. And by the way, your best bench player, Peyton Watson, also out tonight. But to me, the big onus of this is on the league. It's on the NBA schedule makers because there is no reason why the NBA should be having back-to-backs this late in the season, in my opinion. There's plenty of time earlier on in the season, in November, December, and early January, to knock out some of these games. And if it's going to be too constrained at that point, well, extend the season by a week. Either start the season a week earlier or end the season a week later. But the NBA has got to figure out a way to avoid these back-to-backs this late in the season specifically. And I almost went as far as saying post All-Star break. I think that's probably asking a little bit too much. But the last 2.5 weeks or so of the NBA regular season, there should be no back-to-backs because the schedule is so grueling and grinding. So many teams are worn down. So many teams are banged up. It's not fair to the players. It's not fair to the coaching staff. And it's mostly not fair to the fans that are paying to come see these games. So that's kind of my gripe with what happened here tonight. I really don't put the blame on the team. I put the blame on the NBA and their schedule makers. They've got to figure out a way to fix this problem because it's just not acceptable to the fans, especially. And by the way, I mean, Malone announced this in his pregame presser that all 5 starters were out. I mean, there damn sure were a lot of fans driving down to Ball Arena that had no idea that none of the starters were going to be playing in tonight's game. It's an unfortunate situation. It's not just here with the Nuggets. This happens all over the league. In fact, I would probably say the same thing in the NHL. I would have to do a little bit of research to see the last couple of weeks of the season, how many back-to-backs that like the Avalanche will be playing. I believe they have a back-to-back tonight and tomorrow, but they've got to figure out a way to avoid these back-to-backs, especially late in the season. I think the league can get away with it earlier on in the season because these guys aren't as banged up and they're definitely more fresh. So it is unfortunate. It sucks. It makes for really bad basketball. And, you just don't want to see that happening. Now, to the game tonight, I got to give the Nuggets that did play in tonight's game a lot of credit because I thought they played their asses off. In fact, Hunter Tyson didn't shoot the ball great, but I thought his effort and energy tonight was outstanding. He was running all over the court with his hair on fire. He finishes with 18 points. Okay, I'll take that from Hunter Tyson in 29 minutes. Not bad. Russell Westbrook gets 30 points. Now, as much criticism as I get dished out to Russell Westbrook last night, I thought he responded pretty damn well this evening, just as far as his leadership on the court. He really kind of kept the Nuggets in this game for the most part. In fact, it was to the point where the Nuggets got down by 20 points in the second quarter. I mean, it looked like this thing was over. So credit to these bench role players for sticking with it and really making this a basketball game. I mean, don't get it twisted. The Nuggets had every chance to win this game. They just faltered the last 3.5 minutes of this. And Russ, unfortunately, towards the end of tonight's game, missed a couple layups. And the Nuggets just couldn't get enough stops that they needed to get in order to win this game. I mean, they took the lead in the fourth quarter. So they absolutely had a chance to win this game. And they just couldn't get enough stops. I tell you what, for as much as I've complained about the Nuggets defense this year, and I think rightfully so, and I've heard a lot of fans say the same thing, my God, is it so apparent when you have a game like today, the difference in physicality and just skill level and speed on both ends of the floor, but it was really noticeable tonight on the defensive end. And I do want to give a shout out to Jalen Pickett. I mean, he had a triple-double tonight. 11 rebounds, 10 assists, and 17 points. I thought he was fantastic orchestrating the offense and running that. I thought he did a really good job of that. But he looked lost on the defensive end of the basketball. And I was going to say, Jalen Pickett tonight, I definitely think he will be in the rotation in some capacity come playoff time. Now, that obviously is going to depend on the health of Jamal Murray. Christian Brown, same thing. How much is Michael Malone going to use Russell Westbrook in the playoffs? Those are all going to factor in to how many minutes and where in the rotation Jalen Pickett will be come playoff time. But I do suspect that he will get a look, at minimum, get a look in the playoffs. Now, what he did offensively tonight, obviously, I think helped his case to continue to get minutes down the stretch here in the final couple of weeks of the regular season and potentially into the playoffs. But the defensive end tonight kind of hurt his case because he really struggled on that side of the ball. The Nuggets just kind of did as a whole, to be honest. You could tell that they were having some communication issues. There were a lot of blow-bys, a lot of open corner threes. They just didn't complete their rotations. A lot of that is just these guys haven't played a lot of basketball together in real games. So it definitely looks like that tonight. But again, shout out to the Nuggets. They definitely fought back in this game. I mean, it was 33-21 after the first quarter. Both teams scored 33 in the second. So they definitely rebounded well on the offensive end. And then the Nuggets won the third quarter 31-22. They really set themselves up to have a fighting chance, a puncher's chance in tonight's game. And again, just down the stretch, they just couldn't figure out ways to get enough stops in tonight's game to pull out the victory. So, look, again, I've been talking about this for a month or two. If you're an avid listener of the show, you've heard me say this 1,000 times, but I really do believe it's true. I don't care if this team falls to the 5 or 6 seed. I know Vic was talking earlier today, and I've heard a lot of the guys on the station say that they want a top 3 seed, and I get that. But I think having this team as rested and healthy as possible when the playoffs begin is by far the most important thing over seeding. Now, of course, they want to avoid the play-in, and that's kind of the conundrum that the Nuggets find themselves in right now. With the loss tonight, they're only 2.5 games back of the 7-seeded Minnesota Timberwolves for the play-in. So they get the rest game tonight, all the starters, and coming up on Friday, and for the rest of the regular season, I mean, it's go time. Because they're at a point now where I think they've gotten enough rest, and obviously Jamal's health will determine his role down the stretch of the season here. But they are in a position now where they do have to go for it. They have 5 games left. They're 2.5 games out of the 7 seed. They're currently in the 4 seed. That's how tight the West is this year. It is insanely tight. Seeds 2 through 8 in the Western Conference. And it's just any sort of falter can slide you up or down the standings quite significantly. That's what hurt so much about the loss last night to the Timberwolves, which I'm still kind of processing that game. I know it was a wild day on the radio station. I think a lot of people are just trying to figure out what exactly happened in that game. There were so many memorable things and amazing moments that happened in that game. And then the ending was just so crappy the way it ended on free throws. But they've got 5 games left. 3 on the road, 2 at home. The home games are against the Pacers and the Grizzlies. Winnable games. The Pacers is going to be tough. The Grizzlies are in a free fall, so you would hope that the Nuggets would be able to pull that one out. But these road games are not going to be easy. At Golden State coming up on Friday, at the Kings on Wednesday, April 9th, and then they finish the season in Houston on Sunday, April 13th. That's also a tiebreaker game as well. So if the Nuggets go into that game, back a game of the Rockets, they will have an opportunity to surpass them in the standings if that's the scenario, if they are able to pull that game out. But as far as the rest and recovery and all that stuff goes, for the guys that aren't like seriously injured or legitimately out for like they just cannot play in a game, it's go time. I mean, there's no other way to say it because they cannot. I do not want this team falling into the play-in tournament. You talk about a team that looks pretty worn down right now. I don't want this team playing more games than they have to play. So it's going to be a wild week and a half. It's about 2 weeks. 2 weeks left in the regular season. 5 games. They have no more back-to-backs. Actually, the back-to-backs are over. So that's also good news. The back-to-backs are done. They have a day off game, day off game, day off game, day off game. That's the rest of the regular season, and that's how they'll finish thing out. So the way the last 5 games falls does benefit the Nuggets as far as rest and recovery goes. It's more of a playoff type format, if you will, in that one. So we're going to see what happens. It was weird seeing the Spurs without Victor Wembanyama tonight. This was a matchup last year in Wemby's rookie season that I just could not wait to see how Nikola Jokic played against Victor Wembanyama because he's such a freak athlete. He's obviously 7'5". That's a matchup that I really look forward to. So it was unfortunate that we didn't get that matchup here tonight. Neither of them played. Wemby is obviously out for the rest of the regular season because of blood clots. So I hope Wemby can overcome that. If you listen to our show, Tyler Columbus said he dealt with that. It's actually a pretty serious deal. We saw Dame Lillard ruled out for the year for the Milwaukee Bucks with blood clots in his calf. Wemby, I think it's more the shoulder chest area. But Wemby's good for the game. So I do hope that Wemby's able to come back and play and have a long and healthy career. I know that it's probably not the best for the Nuggets or other Western Conference teams if he is able to do that, but I in the end, I do think it's what's best for the game. So I hope that happens here for the San Antonio Spurs. But I got to tell you, this Stephen Castle kid is he's pretty good. He didn't shoot the ball great tonight. He was just 6 of 18 from the field, 15 points. But he's a rookie. He was the 4th overall pick in the draft last year, I believe, out of UConn. I was really impressed with what I saw from him tonight. I think he's going to be a legitimate NBA player. And if Wemby can get healthy, this Spurs team is going to be scary in a couple of years. All right, let's get to some of your comments here. Feel free to drop them in. How you feeling about the Nuggets right now? Do you like that they rested all 5 starters tonight? Or would you have liked to see at least a couple of them give it a go to try to beat a wounded and bad San Antonio Spurs team that's just trying to get to the end of the regular season? I would be interested to hear from the fans' perspective on that. All right, let's see here. Dante says, how many times in any sport ever has an entire starting lineup not played? I kind of said that earlier. Not only with the Nuggets, I don't remember that happening. Really, kind of basketball is the only sport that this could happen where literally all the starters are out, because hockey, football, and baseball, there's just so many more players that are active and involved in the game. But yeah, just speaking NBA wise, I've never seen this before. This is quite something. I would be curious to ask Coach Malone if the Nuggets didn't go to overtime last night, let alone double overtime. If the game just ended win or loss, if it ended in regulation, would that have changed his decision on the lineup tonight? Would all 5 players still have been out? I would be very curious to see what his answer would be on that, because obviously that factored in. I mean, the minutes from these guys last night was ridiculous. The only player that played in tonight's game that played big minutes last night as well was Russell Westbrook, the 37-year-old. I mean, how about that? That was, I got to give Russ credit for that, because he came to play tonight. There's no doubt about that. And I would have to imagine that Russell Westbrook, this was a scenario where he really wanted to get the bad taste of last night's embarrassment out of his mouth. And I tell you what, he played his ass off tonight, and he was fighting till the end. I give Russ all the credit in the world. Did miss a couple of layups down the stretch. Don't like seeing that, but I did like the fight and the effort from Russ tonight. So that was at least good to see. Enigma the Gray Man says, at least the stadium nachos were good tonight. Awesome. Well, I'm very happy for you. That nacho cheese sauce is outstanding. All right, let's see here. Oh, I like this. Excuse making for a shitty shallow bench, Dan, or shallow bench. Stop, Dan. What do you want me to say about the bench? I've said the bench has been bad all year. This is a known thing. I'm not making excuses for the bench. We all know the Nuggets lack depth on the bench. That's one of their biggest issues. And one of my biggest concerns all season long has been how bad the bench is. So I don't know what you want me to say. The bench has been awful. I've been an advocate of that all season long. So yeah, honestly, the fact that the Nuggets were able to mount a comeback in tonight's game was quite shocking to me, to be honest with you. And Vlatko Čančar, I thought, came in and played pretty well too. He hit a couple of big threes. He hit the three at the end of the third quarter. That is one guy that's like, it just really gets me thinking about tough injury luck, because I really like Vlatko Čančar. I think when he's healthy and rolling, when he was healthy pre-injury, he could have been a really valuable asset coming off the bench for the Nuggets. It's just too bad that he's had a couple of knee injuries, obviously recovered from the torn ACL, made it back this year, hurt it again. And just who knows with Vlatko. He's not that old. I mean, he's got time to recover and I still think carve out a decent NBA career. The question will be here with the Denver Nuggets, and can he be a guy that in the next couple of seasons, could he be a guy that could kind of break through, if you will, and be a guy that can come off the bench and really produce for this team? He's a really good three-point shooter, good rebounder. He's just got to stay healthy. But I did like what I saw from Vlatko Čančar tonight. All right, let's see here. Zeno's Warbirds. Just don't play Russ at the end of games. It's like Will Barton 2.0. Wow, that is that's interesting. I've never thought of it that way, but Will Barton was known for struggling at the end of games. I kind of like that comparison there. Yeah. Maybe that is going to be the playoff formula for Michael Malone. Because look, whatever you feel about Russell Westbrook right now, I'm telling you right now, look right into the camera, he's going to be playing in the playoffs. Like, just accept it, because that is going to happen. You want to talk about the Nuggets bench depth being bad, which it is, you got to play Russ. You have to play him at least in spurts. Now, if you want to take him out at the end of games, okay, that's a fair conversation. But Malone will like to put him in towards the end of games for defensive purposes as well. We've seen him do that a lot this year. For a guy like Jamal Murray, too. We have seen Malone pull that card this year. So he's going to be playing. Now, how much is he going to be playing? That's the question that we're all going to find out the answer to. Let's see here. Das, I like this. Bless Joker's heart, but a suggestion for Dario and Westbrook were absolutely god-awful. I've never been a huge advocate of players getting involved in personnel decisions to a degree. I think smart teams at least talk to their guys about potential free agents. I do think that's smart. I mean, the Avs Nathan McKinnon has talked about how the Avalanche have inquired with him. Hey, just, what do you think of this guy? It's not, hey, should we sign him? What do you think of him? And I do think that's mostly what it was. I mean, Joker probably has a lot more sway than we would all think. And rightfully so. I think he's earned that. But, I do kind of agree with that. Leave that up to the people hired to do that job for the most part. If you want to ask your great players advice, I'm fine with that too. But it is it's a weird scenario when players start really getting like heavily involved on personnel decisions. So I do agree with that. Let's see here. Miles says, I want to climb in a time machine. Just jump ahead to the playoffs. Nuggets and Avs are both unwatchable tonight. Well, I was watching a bit of the Avs on my phone during the game. Let's check in here on the score because I don't even know. Last I saw, they were down 2-0 to Chicago. It's still 2-0. There's about 17 and a half minutes to go there in the third period. The Avs actually did score in the first. Sam Malinsky got a goal, and then they challenged for offsides, and they called the offside. So, yeah, this would be a perfect ending to a crap night if the Avs lost to the Blackhawks, who are the second worst team in the Western Conference. Yeah, Coach Castillo, same thing. Westbrook was terrible again down the stretch of this game. Talked about that earlier. I thought he was really good quarters 1 through 3. Honestly, to the point where I thought he helped keep the Nuggets in this game. But you're right. He missed some layups down the stretch, and it cost the Nuggets. It did. And also the defensive lapses, too. It wasn't just Russ, but he was a factor in that, no doubt about it. Mr. Punchrock Groin, I don't see another win on the schedule. Meanwhile, I got an email asking me if I'm interested in becoming a season ticket holder. Well, Jokic is still going to be here, right? You do know Jokic is still going to be here for the next, hopefully, 7-8 years. I think that's worth season tickets. But again, like I said, it's going to be an interesting offseason for the Nuggets depending on what happens in the playoffs this year. If they lose in the second round or sooner, I think we're going to see some serious changes made to this team. Just plain and simple. A lot like we've seen with the Avalanche over the last couple of years. All right, before we get out of here, let's head downstairs and hear from Nuggets head coach Michael Malone.
Situation changes a little bit when you have down as many starters and rotation players as you are. What did you like about the way the team kind of was able to make this a game, and how did it kind of go at the end?
Yeah, I mean, I think they started off like 9-0, and we couldn't make a shot. Got a lot of great looks, and I could tell some of the guys that hadn't played a lot, just they were playing so tight, and that was my message throughout. Like, everybody, just relax, play hard. If you're open, shoot it. If you miss it, who cares? Just keep playing. Just stay with it. So I love the fact that we got down by 20 and we stayed with it. We didn't just let go of the rope. We fought. We cut it. Obviously, had chances in that fourth quarter, and just down the stretch, obviously not able to get timely stops, timely rebounds, and weren't able to execute and convert on the offensive end. Second half, we held that team to 39%, 44 for the game, without, five, six guys that are rotation players. So it's 2 games in a row where you hate saying, man, we played hard tonight. That should be a given. But I'm proud of the effort. A lot of guys that hadn't played rotation minutes got a chance tonight. And, Jalen Pickett got his first career triple-double. Really happy for him, proud of him. He did a lot of really good things in the Minnesota game that we didn't talk about, that I didn't talk about. And then he follows that up tonight in the second career start and gets a triple-double. So I wish he would have come in a win, as does Jalen, but he put on a really special performance.
How much more confidence do you have in Pickett to play some critical minutes down the stretch here for you guys?
Every chance, Vic, he's gotten a chance to play this year. Every time he goes out there, he plays well, and he's proven himself to be trustworthy. And he takes care of it. He's not going to wow you. He's not going to do anything, that's going to be on a highlight necessarily, but he's just really steady, really solid, makes open shots, makes the right plays, battles on defense, gets us organized, and guys like playing with him because he's going to make the right plays. And so, obviously, hats off to Jalen for a special performance in his very young NBA career.
One more on Jalen. What does he do so effectively as a rebounder?
Well, he's strong. I don't think people realize how strong Jalen Pickett is. What he may lack in his height, he makes up for in terms of physicality and strength. He's got a really strong base. He's not afraid to get physical. He's got a nose for the ball. And, being a really good rebounding comes down to a want to, a desire. And I think, Pick has shown that he has the ability to impact the game across the board like he did tonight.
I was going to mention the rebounding as well. Just a lot of really good rebounding possessions. I know there was a key one that you guys gave up
Yeah.
there, but other than that, it just felt like the energy was much better rebounding wise.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like since the All-Star break, we haven't rebounded many teams. So to win the rebound battle by 6 tonight, and you look at it, DJ had 17, Russ had 11, Jalen Pickett had 11. And we always talk about gang rebounding, how it's not just the big's responsibility. So your starting backcourt gave you 22 rebounds tonight, which is outstanding. So, some good things. Once again, down the stretch, just not able to get the key stops. Chris Paul stepped up, made some big shots, especially from 3. And, we got to get ready to go to Golden State. Only 5 games to go. And we know that with each game, win or loss, how much that's going to impact these standings in the last 5.
Okay, we'll stop it there because nothing too crazy there from Michael Malone, but wow. DMAC, who's downstairs, just sent me a tweet that he sent out. So Brendan Vogt from DNVR apparently asked Russell Westbrook if he had a few minutes to chat with the media. Russ declined. And we didn't talk about this last night because I didn't know it had happened until my show was over. But Russ was the first player out of the locker room last night and declined to talk to the media. Oof. Man, that's a bad look. And I get it. Russ is, in a tough spot right now. But this is not a good look for Russell Westbrook. To 2 nights in a row where he struggled at the end of the game to decline to talk to the media. That's a little disappointing to see. So you've got to wonder where Russ is right now mentally. And, he's a 17-year vet. So you've got to hope that he can kind of rebound from this. But we'll see what happens. 2 tough games for Russ. Again, like I said earlier, I thought he was really good quarters 1 through 3, and then he just kind of faltered down the stretch in that fourth quarter, and it definitely didn't help the Nuggets' comeback chances against the Spurs here tonight. But look, like I said, overall, they've got 5 games left. Okay, no more back-to-backs. They do fall to the 4 seed tonight with their loss, with the Lakers having the tiebreaker. And they're 2 games up on Golden State, who they'll play on Friday. How's that for a huge game? I mean, we thought the Minnesota game was big. Friday night's game in Golden State is going to be massive. I will go as far as saying if the Nuggets win on Friday night, I think they're probably going to be in a top 4 seed. If they lose that game, they're really going to have to grind it out to stay in the top 4. Because I don't know if you've all seen what the Warriors have been doing since the Jimmy Butler trade. They're 18-2 since that trade. I mean, they're on absolute fire with Jimmy in the starting lineup. So this is going to be a scenario where the Nuggets are not only fighting to climb back up into the 3 or maybe the 2 seed. I think the 2 seed's probably out of reach now. They're 3 games back of Houston, who won tonight. But the 3 seed is right there. So they're in a scenario where they're going to be not only going to be fighting to get back into the 3 seed, but now they're fighting to stay out of the play-in tournament. They're 2.5 games back from the play-in. So we'll see what happens. And Minnesota is right there. They're 2.5 games back at the Denver Nuggets. Now, Memphis is as well, but Memphis is in a tailspin. They've lost 4 in a row. They're 2-8 in their last 10. Them I'm not worried about. But Golden State and Minnesota, they're right there. And then the Clippers are just a half game back of Minnesota in the 8 seed. So these last 5 games, I'm telling you all, this game on Friday against the Warriors is a massive game. And you've got to wonder if part of Malone's decision to sit all 5 starters tonight went into gearing up for Friday night's matchup in San Francisco against the Warriors, because that is going to be a massive game as far as the Western Conference standings shaking out. So we'll see what happens. But before we get out of here, I did want to hear one more piece of sound. Jalen Pickett, who had a tremendous game tonight, a triple-double for Jalen Pickett. That is just fantastic. He spoke to the media after the game. Let's hear from Nuggets guard Jalen Pickett.
When did you know you were getting the start?
Yeah, so I kind of knew I was starting, yesterday. After I started the first
Wow.
game, Jamal said he was out again, so I kind of had a feeling I was going to be able to play and just, trying to get into that headspace to, try and help the team, get a win.
You know how close you were to the triple-double?
Yeah, they made sure they told me when I got close, like the last time out we had, I was close. So it was cool, but, I was trying to finish off with a win.
Did Nicola say anything to you? Like how far you behind him? Or?
No, he did not. He just said good job, and he was giving me, pointers, and they were doing a great job of just talking to us on the team. We really needed that tonight.
Grabbed 11 rebounds tonight. What works for you as a rebounder? What goes into rebounding? How much is that a controllable factor for this entire team going into the playoffs?
Definitely. Rebounding, I feel, is just effort, putting a body on a guy. So if I'm on a bigger guy, I'm going to box them out. And that's not my job to get a rebound. If I take the 5 out to play, then, somebody else has to come in. And if, DJ's boxing out, then I got to come in and help and grab all those long rebounds. So we got rebound as a team. And when we rebound, we get out of transition and we're really good.
You mentioned it, but what are those huddles like in a game like this where you have a lot of experienced guys, a lot of guys who are usually playing in street clothes, kind of chipping in or maybe saying whatever, whether it's collectively or individually?
It's good. It's great. It gives guys who haven't played a chance to play. It gives some guys some rest. And, once the jitters kind of got out that first half, we actually started playing some good basketball there and some good stretches. So, it was their, first game out there, Trey in a while, Dario in a while. So, getting guys, some rhythm and being able to play was, fun.
What helped you get past the jitters?
Just being out there longer. Those first couple of minutes, you're nervous. You're trying to play the perfect basketball. And then once
Looked
you
like
realize,
it.
you maybe miss a shot or, turn the ball over, you kind of relax because everybody makes mistakes. So once you make those mistakes, just coming back and still being aggressive helps.
As you look back at this game and try to diagnose what went wrong in crunch time, as a team, what do you kind of wish went differently besides the scoreboard?
Yeah, kind of got tight at the end. We got we fought all the way back, got a lead, and then we had a couple turnovers, couple missed shots, so we kind of got tight. And that just goes to only having a couple people play like real clutch minutes. So it was fun. It was a great learning experience, and just going to kind of try and keep building forward.
Okay, there is Nuggets guard Jalen Pickett after the Nuggets fall to the Spurs here at Ball Arena, 113-106. Is your final? The Nuggets fall to 47-30 on the year. You did hear Jalen bring up Dario Saric there. Man, I am not trying to rag on Dario Saric too much, but my goodness, that dude looks like he forgot how to play basketball. I mean, he struggled again tonight for the Nuggets in his – how many minutes did he get? It's 7 minutes. He was 2 of 2 from the field, but he just seemed like he, on the offensive end, didn't know the offense. I mean, that's almost what it looked like from Dario Saric. He looked lost out there, and that's probably why he only played 7 minutes. In a game like tonight, where all 5 starters are out, Peyton Watson's out. By the way, Julian Strawther's still out. I mean, that's 7 regulars that were out tonight. The center you bring in to be the de facto backup big to Nikola Jokic, the regular backup gets 7 minutes in a game like tonight. That pretty much says it all, everyone. I mean, that unfortunately, sometimes in free agency, there's home runs and sometimes there's big old swings and misses. And Dario Saric, unfortunately, was a big swing and a miss for the Nuggets. So unfortunate to see. But, the good news is I think we're going to see a very motivated, very rested, hopefully healthy Nuggets team coming up on Friday in Golden State. How many games in a row have the Nuggets beaten the Warriors? I mean, let's not forget that either, because the Nuggets have been really, really good against the Golden State Warriors. In fact, I'm looking this up here real quick. because, for whatever reason, just like the Timberwolves seem to have the Nuggets number right now, the Nuggets have had the Warriors number. They've beaten them 11 consecutive games. So if the Nuggets can pull out the win against the Golden State Warriors coming up on Friday, that'll be 12 wins in a row for the Denver Nuggets. But that's going to do it for the post-game show tonight, everybody. Again, the Nuggets fall to the Spurs. 113-106 is your final. They will travel to Golden State coming up on Friday. Then they'll be back home on Sunday here to play the Indiana Pacers. We will be with you live. I'll be driving back from Boulder. I'm going up to Boulder with Tyler Columbus on Friday. We're going to be doing hits up there live at CU's Pro Day. He and I will try to get some interviews with a bunch of Buffs players from up there. So make sure to tune in all day Friday. We'll be doing opening day stuff with the station. And Tyler and I will be up in Boulder covering the Buffs Pro Day with Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, all their wide receivers. And they've got a lot of guys that could be potential NFL draft picks. And then obviously the two big names, Shedeur and Travis, are likely to go in the top 10 for sure. So make sure to tune in for that. And we'll try to bring you the best Buffs coverage of the day coming up on Friday. Nuggets fall to the Spurs, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back on Friday night for reaction to Nuggets and Warriors right here on In the Paint on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5.